Call the meeting to order, and Holly will call roll.
Bartlett. Bartlett.
Here. Sorry.
Hirsch.
Here.
Swadley.
Here.
Boersma.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Majewski.
Here.
Engelberger.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Truel.
Here.
O'Connor.
Here.
Duranzik.
Here.
There are 12 members present.
Thank you very much. So we'll start out with communications. Are there any communications from our alderpersons? Alderperson Boersma.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I am back from Red Cross, Parkland, Florida, with the mass shooting, and just want to let you know that I met with a number of kids and families, police, sheriff, community, and school, all affected by the mass shooting. And when they'd asked me where I was from, I said, I'm from Stoughton, Wisconsin, and the thoughts of our community of Stoughton, Wisconsin are with you in your grief, and because I know that was the case. So try to be a good ambassador for in their time of grief. So I have one more thing, if that's okay. In communication tonight, I wanted to inform of a public forum for candidates for mayor and council this Thursday from 6 to 8 at the fire station. And I also wanted to just mention this, that this is a posted meeting, posted fairly recently, and I just want to advise people that if we have these kind of meetings, that we should make sure that these are posted meetings, because we are essentially discussing city business. So that's all I needed to say.
Great. Thank you. Alderperson Truel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a reminder that tomorrow evening we have an RDA meeting at the fire department training room, but at 7 o'clock, the city planner and economic development person for Monona will be coming down to talk about their efforts and specifically how they're trying to attract a developer for a smaller lot along the river. And everyone's welcome. Again, that'll be at 7 o'clock tomorrow night in the fire department training room.
Thank you, Scott. Alderperson Hirsch, did you want to talk about your handout?
Oh, well, I think Christy
Kirsty's
Kanthofer
going to cover
is going
that.
to talk
All right.
about it, so I
All
didn't
right.
want to steal her
Oh,
thunder.
Well, we don't want to do that. That would be inappropriate. So I will let that go. Rodney.
I was going to report that you know that the DOT and the city have been working to prepare an agreement related to access to Highway 138, related to the Kettle Park West area development. That draft document is planned to be presented to the council at the April 10th meeting. It's actually scheduled to go out to all of you this week yet, so you'll have several weeks to review it ahead of time. Certainly encourage you to take a look at it ahead of time and call or inquire with questions prior to the meeting. We anticipate the DOT will be present at that meeting as well. So hopefully that'll come together for April 10th.
Great. Thanks, Rodney. Alderperson Johnson.
Your Honor, this might not be for the comment section. I have some questions as far as where the budget is for right now. I know on item number 8, we're going to be addressing some of it, but I don't know if I should bring up just general comments that I kind of touched with the email to Tammy earlier.
Yep. And we talked at Finance, and I know that Alderperson O'Connor will ask to table that agenda item tonight so that more work can be done on it before it comes before council.
Okay, so then I
So, yeah,
won't bring
we
it.
can let that one go for now.
Thank
But
you, Your Honor.
I do have two things. First of all, thank you to Rodney for all his work, not only on Access 138 with the DOT, but you may or may not know that Rodney is our liaison to the DOT, and he does just a great deal of work with them. He's a great representative for the city of Stoughton, and I think it's through his work that we're able to, although I know it takes us longer than we ever want it to take, and Rodney as well, but we're able to bring some of these projects to fruition. So the one that I would like to share with you all tonight is Highway 51 and Roby Road. We were notified that it's now a programmed project, which means that it can move forward. And the DOT is talking about most likely a roundabout, correct me, Rodney, if most likely a roundabout in that area, and that it would at this point anyway, there were two things that Michael Hoker shared, is that first of all, they acknowledge that it's a need that our community's had for a really long time. It needs to be a programmed project, and then they need to have money for it. They're able to use public safety monies, and the project has been programmed. Right now, it's programmed to 2022. I know, I did that to Regina. So when I asked that question, he said, well, we have to put a date on it somewhere. And that ensures that the project moves along. But they want to even, how does he say it? They want to be sure that as a part of the scoping project, they finalize the schedule so that it aligns with the other various projects in Stoughton. You know, we'll have some pavement replacement going on Highway 51. We'll be having the roundabout at Highway 51 and 138, the roundabout at 51 and Whole Avenue. So they want to scope it and plan it so that it's more efficient and effective use of their time, but it's also a little easier, if that can be a word, on the city of Stoughton and folks traveling into the community as well as those traveling out. So they just wanted to let us know that they have found funds for it through the safety program that they have, and that it's being programmed. So it's in their line of sight anyway, and it will be coming down, which is a good thing, much closer than we've ever been so far. And this is a project that Rodney has been going back, wow, 15, 20 years maybe? Long time.
Middle 90s.
Yeah, long time. So thank you to Rodney for all his work on this project.
Thank you.
All right, we have, before we move on to our public comment period, we have Greg Hoyt, who is our Youth Center Director. And Greg wanted to come tonight to introduce himself to you all and tell you a little bit about the Youth Center and his work. Welcome, Greg.
Awesome. Like Donna said, my name is Greg Hoyt, and I've been working for the Youth Center, running the Youth Center for 12, going on 13 years now. And it started when it was at the back, in the old EMS building, in the back area there. And it was some good old fun days till we were having a lot of kids. I was there to see, when I started there were about with 15 or 16 kids coming. We grew all the way up to like 30-something until the space wasn't big enough to hold us there. And then we did a lot of talking and communicating and bringing community together and ended up getting the old building and then refurbishing it. But then I left for a while and went to the YMCA. And then once the project was finished, then Tom Lynch, my old boss, gave me a call and said, "Greg, you should come back." So then I did, and we came back, and awesome building. But there is 11 youth center in Stoughton, and I just want you guys to know, the more I go out, I want everyone to know what makes the Stoughton Youth Center different. And number one, we have, like today we have 37 kids. So in the summertime, there's anywhere between like 35 to like 45 kids. If it's really cold, the number goes up. You could have 55, you could have 60 kids in there. Because it's the only place that you have that kids can come, get a snack, but just get a place, a nice warm place to play. And there's adult there that's just hang out and be silly and chat and talk with them. So it's really cool there. But the thing that makes Stoughton Youth Center very, very unique, and there's 4 other youth centers that I go to throughout the month and working with to get them to follow the same thing that we do here, is about how rules. The youth center is not about programs. When I left the Y, that was my philosophy there. The Y is a lot about programs. I don't believe much about programs. Program doesn't change kids. People like me and you and the time that we spend with kids, that's what changed kids. Time, relationship, those type of things. That would change kids. So that's what we do there. We have 3 rules, and that's all you have to follow. Those 3 rules is respect self, respect the space, and respect everyone around in that building. There is nothing they can do at the building that doesn't fall under that. Whether it's bullying, whether it's swearing, whether it's teasing someone else, whether it's not taking care of the place or being appreciative, it doesn't matter what it is. It falls under that. And then what we do, because there's a lot of new kids that's come in and out, we bring all the kids together twice a week, and we just go over the rules. Because we tell the kids, look, this is your place. There's 3 staff here. With 3 staff and 40-something kids, we can't see everything. So we need you guys to be eyes and ears and those type of stuff. So we go over the rules very, very often with the kids. So then if you bring a friend over or you know someone new coming to the youth center, let them know what the rules are before they get kicked out or those type of stuff. The next thing we do there is consequence. I find that when a kid make a mistake, which a lot of them do at the youth center, pull them in the office, you talk to them. Some of it, very few of it, might be just wiped off. But most of the time, if you go forward and give an appropriate consequence, they learn really well from consequences, from behavior. Make the consequences adapt to the behavior. But the main piece that we have there with kids, relationship building, is talking to kids about, we will choose yesterday, we were talking about what does it mean to respect self? And we will just basically just ask one person, and then you will hear that kid point of view on what it means to respect self. And then next week when we talked about it, we'll say what it means to respect the youth center. And then someone else will come up and say, well, you know, don't throw your stuff over here, or don't do this, or when you finish, put away the ball, or those type of stuff. And we just keep asking them to go over the same thing. The biggest one we will have is when we talked about what it means to respect the person right next to you. That's usually some of the longest conversation because we have so many different kids in so many different categories and different things that's coming at the youth center. And one of the main rules here at the youth center, there's no tolerance on bullying. We have about 16 cameras in the building, and not only does it videotapes everything, it tapes everything for us. So if someone could come a week later, 2 weeks later, or 4 or 5 days later and say, hey, Greg, such and such happened, we can say, yes, we talked to Derek, and he will isolate that area for us, and we get to go and see it, and then we could pull people and talk. But I think holding kids to very, very high expectations, and once they come in, the day our routine is the kids coming through the door, either myself or Sawyer or Malik, we're just standing there, and we'll ask the same question about 30-something times. Hey, how was your day? How you doing? How was your day? How are you doing? And you're just waiting to hear something a little bit indifferent. Oh, I didn't have some. And then you follow that person. So tell me what's going on. How you doing? And it leads to a conversation. A lot of times it's not that we have to fix nothing. A lot of times it's just that we have to listen. And that is a huge part of it. It's just being there 5 minutes, being able to listen to something. We said, hey, you know what? Let's go over here and grab a snack and, tell me, oh, this teacher was such and, oh, let's grab a snack. Tell me what that was all about. And you'll sit down here and you talk and be like, oh, so you mean she was, and sometimes it's just throwing back this kid's same words to them in a little different way. And then they'll understand, well, But the listening part, us being there, being able to listen to them is huge. The part of them learning to respect self, respect space, respect each other. And then the next part we will tell the kids is that when you come to the youth center, these are rules that we impress on you. That's the only way how we can run this center with 40-something kids. If we didn't have these rules in there and have them to this high level, there's no way we can handle 40-something kids, myself and 3 staff every day. It is just not possible. But because we impress this on the kids over and over and over, they have buy into it. And because they buy into it, now what we tell them, we said, look, when you guys come here, you're just awesome. One of the things that I love to do is almost like embarrass them. When you pull the kids together, and this is something most of the kids, I don't know for what reason, but they're not accustomed hearing good things about themselves. So I would just start out and just tell them how awesome you are. You know what? You guys are so awesome. And which every day we'll just find something different, or at the ending of the week, find something different to just tell them how awesome they are. And it's like they can't hear it, especially the girls and them, like they just can't hear that they're awesome. And I said, listen, not the cell phone, not the clothes, nothing that you guys, you're just beautiful, each and every one of you. And it's like these things are just stuff that they just can't observe and take in. But I think they come to the youth center to hear those things too. They come to hear that, they come to feel safe. They come to meet a ton of friends and all the different intermingling and those type of stuff. So if someone wants to ask you guys, here, what goes on at the youth center? What do we do at the youth center? What I love to tell people that we use the youth center, we help change hearts. we talk to kids about how you treat others. Like I just tell them, I said, when you go into the community, whether you're at the youth center, or whether you're walking around the streets, or whether you're in the school, the way how you treat people, they will look at you. It will change life. The things that come out of your mouth, the things that you say. One of the biggest things I used to get a lot of feedback on, when I started, I would tell all of the kids, I said, guess what? All you guys are role models. Like I'm not a role model. I said, you are. I said, from the time you open up your mouth, someone is listening. Someone is always listening to what you say. Someone is listening to what I'm saying. So whether it's positive or negative, someone is listening. You're a role model. It don't matter what you do, you are a role model. Now, what you role model, that's the difference. Now, when you're at the youth center, here's what we want you to role model. Then what we ask them to do is, hey, take this same belief, the same expectation that we have here, and make sure that's what you're doing at home. Make sure that's what you're doing at school. Make sure that's what the teachers are seeing. Make sure that's what the community are seeing. So that's our biggest piece at the youth center. Is not, we have some cool programs. We have some MakerBot. We have pottery. There's a lot of basketball and those type of stuff. But that's not our push. Our push is if you come to the youth center and you play basketball or MakerBot or you're doing pottery and those type of stuff, these are the kind of behavior and attitude we want to see you while you're doing these things. So those are not the things that drive in the youth center. The things that drive in the youth center is your character. And when you go, your character goes with you. When you go, you leave all the program at the youth center. When you go, your character is with you. So take that with you and show it to everyone. So that's, I'm not going to take up more time, but that's what the youth center is. And I just want everyone to know that's what the youth center is all about. So if you're talking to anyone in any way, you can say, the youth center is about changing character, changing people from the inside and making sure they appreciate the person on the right and the person on their left, anywhere they go. So that's it.
Thank you,
Thank
Greg. And to be sure, Greg is one of those wonderful role models that the kids can look up to and they can emulate. And he will often say sometimes he's teaching lessons without them even knowing he's teaching them a lesson, and that's a real teacher when that happens. I also wanted to share with you that this year is our 25th anniversary of the Stoughton Youth Center. Began back in 1993. So the Friends of the Youth Center good grammar, they are planning probably an open house in September. So we'll be sure to invite you all to participate in that. Minutes and reports are here for your review. Public comment period, we do have one person registered to speak. Again, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, and Holly will let you know when 30 seconds are remaining. So first, we have Christy Panthofer, 201 South Franklin Street. Welcome.
Hello. So I'm Christy Panthofer. I'm here representing Sustainable Stoughton. We are having our second annual Earth Day Expo. The sheet that Regina passed out is just kind of a save the date kind of thing that we put out earlier. But we are really growing this year, doing lots of getting the information out, not only to the city of Stoughton, but also to the surrounding areas. So we're really trying to grow it. We're doing things like amphibians and reptiles, kids' activities in a community tent that Osselson's True Value is sponsoring. It'll be at the Lagerette. I'll pass this around. You can take a little look at it. And what we're hoping to do is from 3 to 5 for the event. We would like to have a little happy hour. Ryan Casey, I'm sure maybe a lot of you may have heard of Ryan Casey, will be playing from 3 to 5 in the little bar area. And we would have Viking Brew Pub there, bartenders, checking IDs and making sure that nothing goes awry, but it's a little happy hour. And then that moves on to our farm to table dinner that evening, that is right after, where we would have it would be upstairs, and it would have a little happy hour again from 5 to 6, and then wine would be served with dinner. So it would just be wine and hard cider and some of Ike's brewed beer there. And again, it would all be licensed bartender from Viking Brew Pub would check IDs and oversee that. The dinner is definitely an adult dinner. So, but they would still be checking IDs and that kind of thing. So I'm just here to please ask you to pass that
It's the same one.
liquor license for that period, so we can raise a little money that will, every dime of it will go back into the community. This is all of awareness for Stoughton and how we are sustainable. We have organizations from town, businesses, artists, farmers. It's a showcase of everything that makes Stoughton great, and we're trying to make a little money, and selling a little beer might help us do that. So I would appreciate it if you all voted for that liquor license for that short period of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak during the public comment period? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to, if I could turn, our consent agenda tonight consists of the February 27th, 2018 Common Council minutes, Resolution 41 of 2018, which is a resolution authorizing and directing the proper city officials to issue operators' licenses to the following: Wendy Brigham Abroke, I think. She's at Benushi's Bar and Grill, and Karen Moore at Aldi's. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Jensen, second by True. Does any alderperson wish to remove any item or amend those minutes in the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Old business begins this evening with Ordinance 8 of 2018. This comes from our Planning Commission, Alderperson Trull.
Thank you, Honor. Plan Commission brings forth Ordinance 8-2018, an ordinance amending the zoning classification of the City of Stoughton Public Works Facility, which will be located at 2439 County Highway A and 1101 Collins Road in the City of Stoughton, and would move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Truul, second by Engelberger. Alderperson Truul.
Thank you, Honor. Again, at the last council meeting, we had a number of other amendments, a number of other items that we passed. This is the last step. As we've talked previously, we'll continue to move forward with the development of the Public Works facility and would encourage your support.
Thank you. Comments or questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. New business begins with Resolution 42 of 2018. And this comes from our Parks and Recreation Committee. Alderperson Hirsch.
This is authorizing the creation of a steering committee for the Ohio River Whitewater Park. This is Dan's here to talk about it, and I so move.
I'll second.
Motion by Hirsch, second by Duranzik. Alderperson, Hirsch.
Dan, you want to come up and talk about it?
Welcome, Dan. There's the smile. He's excited about this project.
Yeah, it's just the Whitewater project. This is something that would take, 3 years minimum to build and, go through the process. So it makes sense with, some technical things like the environment, and the cost of the project and the timeline. So it makes sense to create a steering committee for something like this. And obviously, in the memo, I pointed out some things that they could help with and help me along the way, and the types of members that I'd like to see on the committee. So if you have questions, I can answer them, but it would be yeah.
How many people on the steering committee, you said?
I was looking at about 7 people,
7 people, and who would appoint them?
so it'd be me. But we could,
Sure, Alderperson Duranzik.
Yeah, I was actually going to propose a friendly amendment to make sure that the number 7 members got in there, so
Okay, certainly, thank you. And I did hear by, how do I want to say it, through a good source, that there might be an attorney who kayaks or might want to serve on the committee as a volunteer.
I do not kayak.
Oh, what do you do?
I
Sorry.
paddle an open canoe.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I don't go on the dark side,
The dark side, the open
Kayak.
canoe, all right.
but I do paddle it in whitewater.
Well, there you go.
So.
So, yeah, so we might have some help. Alderperson Duranzik.
Yeah, so the third whereas, it would read, whereas we are looking to form a 7-person committee consisting of people with these backgrounds to fill the committee. And then that would continue with the description of each of the 7 different types of people we would like. So this would be, I figured, a friendly amendment to the resolution. And I gave it to Holly already in writing.
Alderperson
Second.
Duranzik, you're okay with the friendly? Alderperson Johnson.
Dan, I have a question. Has they gotten back to you yet on what class of rapids it would be yet?
Every time I talk to them, it'd be class 1 or 2 rapids. 2 would be the biggest.
Okay, because one of my concerns is that we're, like, advertising it's a whitewater rafting, and it's gonna be pretty wimpy.
Well,
So that's why I'm kind of concerned of having the white water, like, people are gonna have to get their helmets and out there and stuff, so I kind of want to not have it be false advertising, so that's what my concern is.
sure.
I'll let Dan respond to
Okay.
that question.
That is the typical name used for these type of projects, so that's why we continue to use the
Okay.
project name.
Okay,
that name.
got it.
But you've always said it's whitewater park, not whitewater rafting. Rafting has
Yeah,
never
it's
really
not.
been part of it.
Okay.
A helmet might not be a bad idea, though. We'll let them make those decisions. Alderperson Boersma.
I would advise, thank you. I would advise, one of the things that the Whitewater Rafting Committee should really look into would be to at least inform or ask or whatever neighbors in that area, to tell them in advance what's going on. I've just heard some comments that people need to know what's going on with that, and there's been a lot of press on it, but there's not been a lot of contact with community members, so. That's just, it's just a piece of advice from one of the alders.
Sure, thank you. Further comments or questions?
I
All
have one
those, oh, sure.
Dan, when are they going to get that study and stuff done, that the group that was doing the $23,000 that went for
Sure,
it?
he's gonna come back and do a presentation at the beginning of May. The date hasn't been set yet, but it made sense to do it after the reorg for the city council.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Alderperson Hirsch.
Did you also want to, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but just talk about any possible remediation? Because that was brought up in the last time, and I just want to let some council members know that that is part of the process.
Sure, so I talked to Chris, it starts with a V, I can't remember his last name, but he's been working with the RDA. I believe he works for True North Consultants, so that's the business name. And he said that the biggest cost involved with something like that would be to dispose of the contaminated material, and it would cost around $2,000 to do testing for where the site would be, where the whitewater features, and then at that time they'd figure out what is in the sediment and then taking it out. So he said that the max cost would be $100,000, but he said there'd be federal grants that would cover something like that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dan.
All right, not seeing further questions. There was a motion by Alderperson Hirsch, seconded by Alderperson Duranzik, to approve Resolution 42, 2018 as amended. All those in favor, aye?
I'd vote on the amendment.
It was a friendly amendment.
Remember
You
last
need a
time?
separate,
No friendly amendments?
I don't remember, I'm sorry. That's why you're here, right?
We have to vote on the amendment.
As the friendly amendment. All right, then Holly, can you help me? Because I didn't write down that
Sure.
independently.
So it was a motion to form a 7-person committee. That was the language that was added. The original the original language did not include the number of members in the committee.
And it was a motion by Alderperson Duranczyk, seconded by Alderperson Engelberger. That part I remembered.
I
Alderperson
just want to
Borsma.
make sure that it was seconded.
Yep, Alderperson Engelberger did, yep. All right, so all those in favor of the amendment, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion carries. So back to the original motion on resolution, to approve Resolution 42. Motion by Alderperson Hirsch, second by Alderperson Duranczyk. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Alderperson Jensen.
Welcome.
Agenda item number 7, under new business, is a discussion and a request to provide informal direction regarding whether city ordinances should be amended to allow the keeping of bees. Public Safety voted to forward the proposed ordinance to the Planning Commission for further action on February 28th, 2018. So we'll start with Alderperson Truel, and then I'm hoping that Alderperson Dragney can help us as well.
Sounds great. Thank you, Your Honor. Just as some background, over the last 5 or 6 months, Public Safety has been working to try and create some type of an ordinance. It was requested by a couple of council folks and some folks in the community to create an ordinance to deal with the keeping of bees in the city. At the last public safety meeting last month, one of the major proponents had encouraged us to bring the ordinance forward because apparently there are certain key times when the beekeepers will have the most success in creating the colonies and doing the things. And what we had been doing from a public safety side is trying to get the ordinances that were in place in other communities, trying to pick the best and brightest ideas from there. We also have tapped Fire Chief Wagner's experience as well as a part of this. And so at the last meeting, rather than trying to get into the final wordsmithing, Public Safety recommended that we would bring it forward to the Plan Commission to really think about how we could put something in place for enforcement if the council chooses to go forward with it. And so it was actually planned to go to plan, but before I believe that where this really came from is prior to the actual creation of an ordinance, we want to find out whether there actually is interest on the part of the body to move forward, because we would expend additional dollars to have the ordinance created through the city attorneys, with the city attorney's assistance. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Attorney Dragney, did you have anything at this time?
No, I think that pretty well sums it up.
Thank you. Alderperson Johnson.
Hi. I worked on this with Scott and some of the other members. There's many areas outside of Stoughton that do have bees, as you guys probably already know, and we took a combination of many different districts. One of the things, I wasn't there when they actually voted on this, but one of the things, and I think you know a lot about bees, and so I would like some other people's opinions on the flyaway barrier area.
Mm-hmm.
John Thompson that actually worked on it, and actually Scott also, I think, brought up an issue of this. They put the flyaway under 4C as a compromise, but I would prefer not to see that as in the ordinance. And, you know, I would like to have Regina's opinion and maybe have some other people or even Scott or John come look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you explain the essence of why this flyaway barrier is in, or where has that been in other ordinances?
It's been in other ordinances, and when I brought it up, because I've never seen it before, and I actually took a class on bees because I wanted to have bees before I realized Stoughton didn't allow them, and I never heard this until we started looking at other ordinances, but both John and Scott said, you know, you can put them in, but a bee's going to go where he's going to go anyways, and this is just going to cost more for the beekeeper and visual. You're going to have a bigger monstrosity out in your backyards than. So that was just my issue as a flyaway barrier. I'd like us to really look and see if we really need it.
And I'd agree that maybe some more more research on that needs to be done, because the conversation I had is that it really is, that 25 feet for that flyway barrier really is something a bee needs and a bee will do. And if you don't have that distance there,
Yeah.
they may cross over into the neighbor's yard, and that certainly isn't the intent of
Well, they're
any
gonna cross over
beekeeper,
to the
so-
neighbor's yard. They fly up to a mile away, so.
I mean,
having
the
a barrier-
flyway barrier is just a way that they all, I don't know, is it like a little road that bees use? I don't know, I'll be the first to admit. Attorney Dragney, help me.
I know a little, because
Yeah,
I've
all
actually
right.
worked on a number of these ordinances. Urban agriculture is, generating a number of interesting projects like this for us. First, we're not really here tonight to get into the solving these kinds of technical details. I think the issue tonight really is, does the council feel that it's worth investing the time and effort into, moving forward with an ordinance that would allow bees to be kept in the city? And if so, then I think, those kinds of questions we're going to have to dig into. Probably, maybe best at the committee level before coming to council. I do know that bee lines are a real thing. That's where the word beeline came from. And I suspect that barrier is in some way related to the bee lines that do occur with the hive. Depending on how you configure the hive, the bees will tend to come and go on a bee line, at least initially, and then they'll spread out. But I think the issue tonight really is, just at a kind of a high level, does the council feel that this is a direction you want to go, so that we should invest the time and effort into it or not?
Thank you. Alderperson Jensen and then Hirsch.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to show support for this ordinance and authorize Attorney Dragney to conduct his legal review.
Second.
Second.
I did hear a second, but I don't know.
I second
Oh,
it.
Lisa? I did. Second by Reeves. Okay, further discussion, I had Alderperson Hirsch and then Boersma.
Thank you for making that motion. You're always stealing my thunder.
Did I beat you to the punch?
I would support this. Our honeybees are in, kind of in dire straits right now, and with chronic wasting disease. And I think they just came out that over 50% of the hives this year, the queen died, which means that they have to supplement it. And bees actually pollinate over a third of our food, or more. Actually, every third bite of food you eat is because of a bee. And if we lose them, we lose many of our fruits and vegetables, as Lisa will attest to her orchards, that without bees, we wouldn't have apples and many other things that we enjoy. So by having bees in the city, it actually helps the population become more resilient, because you're not relying on big beekeepers, because if there's a disease, it could spread to all their hives. By having it spread out, actually builds in resilience to the whole honeybee. And I've had many friends that have backyard bees, and again, like any animal, you have to treat it with respect and training, and maybe we can get some, Sustainable Stoughton can look at training and get Chief Wagner to actually do hands-on courses. So we have the best beekeepers in Dane County. So I would really encourage you guys to vote for this, and let's be beekeepers.
Thank you. Alderperson Boersma.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was a beekeeper at one point in my life, and it was very enjoyable. It was not in the city limits. And I think I'm going to correct Regina about the fact that I don't believe it's called chronic wasting disease. I think it's
Oh, I'm
mites.
sorry.
It's mites on a.
No, it's not chronic wasting disease.
But-
That's
but
the deer.
they are
Sorry,
having-
it's the other one that's.
They are
that's the
having
cedar.
problems in any case. But we had an excellent, there was an excellent presentation by Scott Wagner and his wife just a few weeks ago about bees. That was through Sustainable Stoughton, and the question came up as to whether or not they are safe in the city. And if I can quote him, as closely as I can, he saw he sees really no problem with that, as long as people know how to raise bees and keep them keep them happy with enough hives, and I can attest to that. You have to have enough places for them to be, or create new hives for them to be happy. But if people know what they're doing, it seems like if they don't know what they're doing, they can be trained as to how to be a good beekeeper. So I would support this motion too.
Thank you. I have Alderperson Bartlett, Truul, and then Hirsch.
And I'll support this. I haven't heard of anyone in District 4 that wants bees, but if there's demand for it, I have no issue with it. I guess I'd just ask, I know we're not getting into the details today, but have the public safety looked at a minimum distance from schools and public parks where there'd be a high instance of people that may have allergies? And I don't know if 200 feet, maybe that's appropriate. I have no idea, but we could just look at that as well.
Thank you. Alderperson Truul.
And I think those are the kinds of issues that still need to be discussed. At public safety, we did have a discussion. I think that's why it was starting to move to plan if we're going to do this, because it really becomes an enforcement issue. The other part of the discussion was the number of colonies that are allowed for someone within the community. When we looked at some of the other Dane County communities, a number of them have ordinances that allow for the raising and keeping of bees. However, in a lot of cases, we're talking about communities that have significant agricultural areas as opposed to the density. And we had gotten into a bit of a discussion. You'll see within the packet was some language that was being suggested that indicated that on a half-acre lot, you could have 2 colonies. Think about the size of the lots that we have in town. That really does, that is some element of direction that we're going to want to ultimately give if this motion passes to Attorney Dragney and ultimately to the Plan Commission or whoever else is going to take this up. We need to find out, there is no doubt that bees play an important and critical part of our life. And from that standpoint, I support this. I think the key, though, is we need to figure out whether it's appropriate to have multiple colonies and things like that in relatively dense residential neighborhoods. And so that's where some of the discussions have come in about the fly barrier and the like. The other part of the discussion was that we had at Public Safety was in regard to notification of neighbors and the like. Because again, they may not be appropriate in all places. And to Alderman Bartlett's comment, again, schools, churches, kids, daycares, things like that are all things that we need to take into consideration.
Thank you. Alderperson Hirsch.
And I just wanted to clarify, it's colony collapse disorder. Too many C acronyms for our wildlife right now, so I just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. This motion carries. Oh, there was Greg made a motion. You're right. Motion carries. Resolution 43 of 2018 comes from our Finance Committee. Alderperson O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor. Some more information came to light that we want to look at further. I would move to table.
Second.
Is there a second? Motion to table by O'Connor, second by Duranzik. A motion to table doesn't have discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Resolution 44 of 2018 comes from our Finance Committee. Alderperson O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 44, 2018, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to enter into an agreement with Dane County for a street construction project on County Highway N, Veterans Road from USH 51 to Academy Street. We met tonight and approved it at Finance 5-0. Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by O'Connor, second by Truul. Alderperson O'Connor.
Cooperative project with the county, and Rodney's been working with them to work out the details and looking to start sometimes in the spring.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Council President Swadley.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I asked this question at the Finance Committee meeting, and I want to ask it again because Chief Luck is here. And basically the question is there any plans for this project to add traffic calming devices And at this point, I think, Rodney, you can answer that. And then I wonder if the chiefs had any conversations with the, was it the DOT or is it the county? The county regarding traffic concerns in that area?
Oh, first. I reported that there are no traffic calming devices planned in this section of the roadway. I communicated that I know that there have been traffic concerns raised, but also the fact that it's not a straight half-mile stretch does help impede the speed to a certain degree there. But it's certainly something we can discuss with them. It is a county highway, so they'll have to be on board with any improvements there.
Thank you.
Because the area is a designated truck route, traffic calming devices tend to be a little more difficult when you have heavy trucks and longer trucks going through those areas. So it might be actually very difficult to put some traffic calming device in that stretch of roadway.
I guess that the follow-up was, have you had calls or concerns of excessive traffic in the area?
We've had numerous complaints of speed, traffic noise as a result of the truck traffic through there. And it's an unfortunate thing because it is a truck route, so that you're going to have a direct access to the South Industrial Park, and all that truck traffic pretty much goes right down through Highway N there. So from that standpoint, we do a considerable amount of speed enforcement in that area and other things. But again, I think it would be awful difficult to plan traffic calming devices in that area given the heavy trucks. I would hate to see some rolling speed bumps or anything like that, because I think that would cause even more excessive noise with the trucks going over that versus any calming effect that you get on the speeds. I just think it's an area that's going to, it's going to need to have constant attention when it comes to the speeds that are occurring there.
Thank you. Alderperson Duranzik.
Yeah, a question for Rodney. Maybe a short version. How did we divide up the costs this way? I guess I'm not, I'm not clear how that came about.
Yeah, I assume you noticed how the allocations were presented there. There is a portion of this stretch of roadway that's not in the city of Stoughton. So part of it is not allocable to the city. But in addition to that, curb and gutter is not a product that the county pays for. So there's certain pieces of it you'll see that are 100% to the city. Most of them are 50% or 0% to the city, but there are some that are 100% to the city based on the position of the work and relationship to the town versus city. And then also like the improvements I discussed that would be more urban than rural character.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Alderperson Bartlett.
Rodney, I know this was budgeted.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the number was. Was it budgeted for the 230 or was it a higher budget number? And did it come in less?
We're happy to report that we came in under what the budget was. 395 was the budget estimate for this project. Recall, we anticipated doing a fair amount of this work independent of the county. We were able to collaborate with the county and get it programmed as a joint project. So that helped to relieve that. At a subsequent meeting, we'll be discussing maybe reallocation of some of that savings to another street project.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Alderperson Truill, and then O'Connor.
Thank you, Honor. Chief-elect, would you also bring us up to speed on some of the discussions that we had at Public Safety regarding parking along this area?
Right, yeah, there was a resolution that went to Public Safety Committee at the last meeting that would restrict parking on both sides of the roadway to accommodate bike lanes from Highway 51 to Vernon Street. That's not on your agenda tonight because we wanted to give time to make notification to all the neighbors and the residents that have property along that stretch, so they would have an opportunity to come in to the council and address it at your next meeting. So we delayed having that approved until the next council meeting.
Thank you. Alderperson O'Connor.
Rodney, would you refresh my memory? Is it curb and gutter on both sides?
It'll have curb and gutter on all sections that are actually fronting city properties or properties within the city. On the east side of County N, There's a rural section that will remain rural, kind of in between County N and Racetrack Road. Those are properties that are yet not in the city, so they will not have curb and gutter.
Thank you. Alderperson Hirsch, and then Boersma.
Thank you for putting in bike lanes. And I was just wondering, with that, is there a lot of people parking on it right now on those two sides?
There's a little parking that occurs there. It's predominantly the business in the corner of 51 and Veterans Road. And then there are some residential parking. It's not a huge amount. I've been kind of monitoring it pretty closely over the last probably 2 to 3 weeks. And it comes and goes, so it's not a regular parking issue there. So that's why we wanted to make sure that we gave the property owners and residents in that area an opportunity to come in and talk about that. When it was originally proposed from planning that we only restrict a portion of both sides down through that stretch. But I looked at, we've had other concerns. I've gotten some complaints of some of the residents that are in the apartments off of Veterans Road there that are right behind Eastside Automotive, and they've been complaining about visibility when they pull out of the driveways there. So I thought that this was a way to fix that problem as well. So I'm sure that they're probably going to be in support of that. Most of the parking tends to be maybe VFW related when they're busy, so there tends to be a little extra parking on that area.
So with that, with the parking, this is a follow-up question, and you're having bike lanes. Is there any signage that we could do to say this is a bike route that actually might slow down traffic? I'm just trying to figure out a way with bikes and higher speeds, obviously don't mix, but is there some kind of signage that we could use that this, I know that the bike route signs are going to go up throughout the city.
Right.
Is there kind of slow down, watch for bikes sort of signage that we could put in that might actually help?
Yeah, I can check with Brett at Public Works and see if he has any ideas of what kind of signage they have for that. I think one of the things that we'll do is we'll probably, I'm going to request that we extra post the speed limit there. That has a tendency to help. Normally in a fixed limit area, you don't do that but this area is, semi-outlining district versus interior city street. And so I think it's really important that we make sure that sign posting is pretty visible. Adding some bicycle route signs, things like that, or share the road type of signage might be also appropriate. So I'll check with Brett and see what's available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Planning Director Shield.
Wanted to just highlight, there will be painted bike lanes, so it's not just a route, so there's painted lanes. In addition to that, there's a public informational meeting that's scheduled for next week, Tuesday, from 5:30 to 7:30 in the Fire Department Training Room. All affected properties, owners adjacent to it, as well as the area businesses, were notified by the county directly, as well as the ad was, I believe, in the paper, but the county initiated that additional public information event. You'll recall we also had a public information meeting about all the city street projects earlier this year that included this road as well. So we've been trying to communicate with those affected.
Thank you. Alderperson Boersma.
So Rodney, if you could just clarify for me, so there will be curb and gutter for the major portion of this or all of it, and then the second part of it is, will there be sidewalks? And how are you going to distinguish between rural and city to adhere to our policy of sidewalks on both sides of the street?
All great questions. Sidewalks will be continuous, the entire east or west side of the roadway. So the west side of the roadway from N to A, or A to 51, is all within the city limits. And there's discontinuous sidewalk there now. Sidewalk will be installed in that entire stretch. We are not putting any sidewalks on the east side of the street. Like I said, almost the majority of that's actually not in the city limits, and a fair portion will not even have curb and gutter in that section. So the sidewalk will be installed fully to be continuous on the west side of the roadway.
And then I would assume that on the other side of the street where there is a possibility of a new developments or whatever, that when new developments would go in, that would then adhere to our policy of having sidewalks on that side of the street.
Absolutely, no question.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll vote by roll call.
Hirsch,
Aye.
Swadley,
Aye.
Boersma.
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reeves,
Aye.
Majewski,
Aye.
Engelberger,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Truul,
Aye.
O'Connor,
Aye.
Duranzik,
Aye.
Bartlett.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Resolution 45 of 2018 comes from our Public Safety Committee. Alderperson Truul.
Thank you, Honor. Public Safety brings forth Resolution 45-2018, a resolution authorizing and directing proper city officials to approve a temporary Class B retailer's license and special event license to Sustainable Stoughton, and I would move approval.
Second.
A
Second.
motion by Truul, second by Jensen. Alderperson Truul.
Again, this was the item that Christy Panthover talked about, the Sustainables event on Saturday, April 21st, and would move approval, would encourage your support.
Thank you. Alderperson Engelberger.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to support it, but I can't because I'm a board member, so I'm going to abstain from the vote.
Okay, are there others? We'll just go right down the side. Alderperson Boersma.
I am a very recent, well, I'm not in Sustainable Stoughton anymore, but I have been integrally involved in Sustainable Stoughton for a number of years. I was a member until recently. I've been struggling with this issue of my votes on not wanting to have additional licenses to a lot of places. I don't know if everybody's aware, but in the state now there is a proposal, could be a law, a statute that would restrict places like wedding venues, farm venues to not have alcohol. And I'm struggling with that too, because, you know, I think that people should have a right to serve if they want to serve, like in that kind of setting. But in this kind of situation where there's kids involved, it's one thing, and when there's just adults involved, like in the evening dinner, that's different. So for two reasons, I'm abstaining. One, because I have been a member of Sustainable Stoughton, and secondly, because I really want to adhere to my policy of not allowing this city to continue to have these festivals with alcohol. So I'll abstain on two levels. So.
Thank you.
But I can only have one abstention. So.
And you don't have to explain, so we'll go there. Alderperson Hirsch.
Yes, I will abstain, but I also would encourage you to. I just want to make it clear that Sustainable Stoughton really worked hard on making sure that this was only 2 hours, and it's only for people to sample local beer and local wine so that people have an idea what is available locally. And then the evening event is a closed ticketed event, and so it's going to be tightly monitored. So it is a very closed, and we really do respect all the CARES priorities and all that. So.
Thank you. Alderperson Truul.
I wouldn't normally bring this up, but just since we're getting into that season, I wanted to let you also know, and if you did happen to look at the public safety minutes, we have now, with the chief's help, brought forth our best practices, and we are starting to include those in all the applications going forward. It's been something that's been talked about for the last couple of years, and it was something that we clearly wanted to try and get in place as we're going in. And so, not to specifically point this out with regard to sustainable, but it's been something I know that state has felt very strongly through the years, and I'm happy to let you know that we now have some best practices that are being included in all of the applications. So, related but unrelated.
Thank you. Alderperson Boersma.
And I would commend the city for doing that. I mean, this has been a struggle for a number of people, not just myself, but I think for Stoughton Cares and for a number of other groups. And just so I think we have some similar practices too, so we can adhere to a policy that is not going to exempt one person and then allow another. It just seems to me that we needed to do that, and I was a bit a part of it because I attended some of those sessions. But I would commend that committee for having done that, so thank you.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? We'll try to vote by ayes and nays, but I know that right now I'm going to hear 3 abstentions, so we'll go with that. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Those abstaining?
I abstain.
Didn't want to leave you out, thank you. That motion carries. Resolution 46 of 2018 comes from our Public Safety Committee. Alderperson Truill.
Thank you, Your Honor. We bring forth Resolution 46-2018, a resolution authorizing and directing the proper city officials to appoint Breonna Patera as the agent for Quick Trip number 893, located at 1359 U.S. Highway 51. This is a change of agent, and so I would move approval.
There's a motion by Truill, second by Duranzik. Comments or discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
I
Motion
abstain.
Okay. Okay, that motion carries with 1 abstention. Resolution 47 of 2018 comes from our Public Safety Committee. Alderperson Truill.
Thank you, Your Honor. We bring forth Resolution 47-2018, a resolution authorizing and directing the proper city officials to appoint Scott Galston as the agent for Quick Trip number 739, located at 517 West Main Street, and I would move approval.
So motion by Truill.
Second.
You guys did that at the same time, just on
I'll let her
purpose,
do it,
didn't you? Second by Duranzik. Alderperson Truill.
And again, change of agent, and again, this is our west side Quick Trip, I'm sorry, our West Main. This is downtown West Main.
Yep, I think it's downtown now. Yep. Comments or questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Motion carries. Resolution 48 of 2018 comes from our Public Safety Committee. Alderperson Truill.
Thank you, Your Honor. We bring forth Resolution 48-2018, a resolution authorizing and directing the proper city officials to issue a Class B fermented malt beverage license and Class B intoxicated liquor license to Amovi Ventures LLC, Wendy Brighton agent, doing business as Benucci's Bar and Grill, located at 800 Nygaard Street. And I would move approval.
Second.
There's a motion by Truill, second by Jensen. Alderperson Truill.
This is a transfer of ownership. This new group has taken over Benucci's, or BBG's, as perhaps better known, and they intend to operate it virtually the same as it has been.
Comments or questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? Motion carries. Ordinance 9 of 2018 also comes from our Public Safety Committee for a first reading. Alderperson Truill.
Last one for me this evening. The Public Safety brings forth Ordinance 9-2018, an ordinance amending Section 70 of the Stoughton Municipal Code to create Section 70-202, granting authority to the Police Chief and Public Works Director to designate temporary parking and vehicle movement restrictions on city streets as deemed necessary. This will come back to us in 2 weeks for approval. The chief actually had taken a look at our ordinances and came back with this recommendation. It will allow he and the Public Works Director to make those kind of necessary adjustments that we actually have had to make in the past, but it will put it in ordinance form. So,
Thank you. Council President Swadley.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you give us some examples of when this would come into play?
Probably the easiest one to say is East-South Street.
South Street.
Sometimes there are provisions under Statute 346 out of the state statutes that allow police chiefs and public works directors to limit traffic movement and so forth, but it isn't explicit under our current ordinances. So what this does is it makes that explicit. And actually how I found it is I was doing some research looking at ordinances, trying to get rid of those that were old and outdated, and I noticed that we still have on the books, which you'll get sooner or later coming back as a way to remove it. But we still have restrictions on Highway 51 from the construction project over 20 years ago when they did that. And I noticed that, we had to pass an ordinance to temporarily restrict all that traffic and parking along that stretch of roadway for construction projects and so forth. This just makes it easier for the Public Works Director and myself to restrict those streets and those parking restrictions that we commonly do right now. But it's a way to just make sure that it's really explicit in the ordinance that we have the authority to do that.
Okay, just a quick follow-up. When you do that, is there a place or a method of communication so we would know and the community would know?
Yeah, it's going to be done with what we currently use now as our temporary signage. So we will actually put up temporary no parking signs, barricades, things like that. Again, this is kind of codifying what we're already doing, more so than creating anything new.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderperson Boersma.
Yes, Chief, I used to work on putting up signs, your signs for Setnam I. And so you must already be authorized to do that because we've been doing that for years and years.
Well, again, some of that authority comes under the state statutes, and that's kind of what we've been following is the state statutes and the rules of the road. But to make it explicit, because of the way our ordinances are structured, that we, codify our parking restrictions and traffic movement, things like that, it just really wasn't as clear as it will be now.
So I haven't been violating the law by putting those signs up? Okay.
Yes, you're going to be arrested.
We're going to throw you in jail, Sid.
Thank you, and that'll be back in a couple of weeks for further discussion. Resolution 49 of 2018 comes from our Utilities Committee. Alderperson Engelberger.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution 49, 2018, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve the write-off of Stoughton Utilities delinquent account balance and invoices deemed uncollectible as of December 31st, 2017, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Engelberger, second by Bartlett. Alderperson Engelberger.
Yeah, thank you. This is something we do every year, and it's after all remedies are exhausted. There's a handful that are left that we need to basically not collect. I believe they still try to collect even after we do this, but is that correct, Brian?
We don't, however, we do leave them listed with the Department of Revenue where they've already been submitted. So if the Department of Revenue does have luck in the future, the money would flow to us.
Okay, and this passed 7-0 at the Utilities Committee.
Thank you. Further comments or questions? We'll vote by roll call.
Swadley?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Reeves?
Aye.
Majewski?
Aye.
Engelberger?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Truul?
Aye.
O'Connor?
Aye.
Duranzik?
Aye.
Bartlett?
Aye.
Hirsch?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Resolution 50 of 2018 also comes from our Utilities Committee. Alderperson Engelberger.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution 50, 2018, resolution authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve the bid award and purchase of the Vector 2100 plus sewer cleaning truck from Bruce Equipment at the cost of $392,920, less the trade-in credit of $85,000, and I so move.
Second.
Motion by Engelberger, second by Bartlett. Alderperson Engelberger.
Yeah, this is one of the things that came up at the committee when this was talked about. I brought it up was, is this money in the budget? And I was told that it is, and so the committee recommends it, and it was approved 7-0.
Thank you. Brian, any information you wanted to share?
We had included $400,000 for this vehicle in our CIP. After trade-in, our recommendation comes in significantly under budget at $307,920. It's not the lowest bidder. However, we recommend going with the second lowest bidder due to the quality of the vehicle that we would be purchasing. It's more fuel efficient, it's more water efficient, and it should definitely cut down on our maintenance and mechanical issues.
Thank you. Alderperson Johnson.
I just had a question. What does this thing do?
So basically, we call it our jet vac. It cleans the underground sewer mains by pushing water through, and then it can also suck debris back. So it can push water through to clear a clog. It can suck clogs out. We also use it for hydro excavating, like around gas mains rather than hand digging. So we use it for a variety of tasks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, further comments or questions? We'll vote by roll call.
Bartlett,
Aye.
Hirsch,
Aye.
Swadley,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Reeves,
Aye.
Majewski,
Aye.
Engelberger,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Truul,
Aye.
O'Connor,
Aye.
Duranzik.
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Resolution 51 of 2018 comes from our Utilities Committee. Alderperson Engelberger.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution 51, 2018, authorizing and directing proper city officials to approve and adopt the adoption of the addendum to the American Public Power Association Safety Manual 16th edition, 2017, Section 407, Parent C, and I so move.
Motion by Engelberger, second by Bartlett. Alderperson Engelberger.
Thank you. This is just a safety precaution that Utilities is taking, and I don't know if Brian wants to add any more to that.
To sum it up, basically, we will be using OSHA standards for our training when it comes to using rubber gloves and sleeves while working on high voltage power lines.
And this was approved 7-0 at the Utilities Committee.
Thank you. Comments or questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Ordinance 10 of 2018 comes from our Utilities Committee for a first reading. Alderperson Engelberger.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is ordinance number 10, 2018, ordinance to amend Chapter 74 of the City of Stoughton Code of Ordinances relating to utilities and sewer use, and it's a first reading.
Thank you. Be back in 2 weeks for further discussion.
Motion to adjourn.
Alderperson Majewski made the motion. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Engelberger. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Get some sign.
We do have some.